Welcome in to the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch podcast. Going through the Champions League, we're 30 and 10, 75% year to date on our best bets. What I do is I put together an ultimate best bet end of show. Today will be what I like from the Tuesday card and the Wednesday card of the UEFA Champions League round of 24 teams, knockout rounds. And I'll pick one bet from Tuesday, one from Wednesday, smashed together, and pick my favorite. And that'll be how you grade me on this episode. We are headed into the best part of the year, especially to me, I think, with knockouts in the Champions League. Had a really good run in the Champions League, won 11 of the last 15 best bets, and try to keep that going. I want to make sure I tweet this out so everyone knows we're live late night with the real_G Warner per usual. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, please like this podcast or leave a 5-star review. Actually, would be much better. Subscribe on YouTube at the real_G Warner, and that's where you can get the 1 minute YouTube short. Or if you're an Instagram user, go check out at the real_G Warner, surprisingly, on that platform as well. And that's where another place where the ultimate best bet will be uploaded. Okay, now that I have that out there, anyone who wants to join in, come on in, throw some questions in if you have them. I'll be going through the two advanced numbers for each of the matchups, and then also, of course, the spread and total for each of them as well. And without further ado, I'll let some people file in, but you can always rewind or catch the rebroadcast on YouTube at the real_G Warner or on Instagram if you want the 1 minute YouTube. Check out the same type of platform, or if you want the full 40 minutes or so, check out the Betting the Pitch podcast network on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So we'll start in the early window, which is a very lame matchup. Disappointing to see two French clubs that get up against each other, especially because they just played a couple weeks ago and PSG dominated Brest, but it's a different story here, different competition. And I truly believe that the results in league for teams that play each other, or really just results in general, don't say much from one competition to the next. So I guess keep that in mind as we go through all of this. So Stade Brestois currently in their home stadium. Unfortunately, it is a pseudo home as they're playing at Guingamp, who just played in the round of 16, I think, Coupe de France. So not in Stade Brestois' home stadium because it's not ready for Champions League based on not being big enough or whatever the regulations are, which shows the climb that Brest have had from a relegation fighter all the way into Champions League, and credit to them for moving on, though certainly the schedule helped. Well, schedule's gotten worse as now PSG, they've drawn in a two-legged tie. So Champions League this year, they expanded the field, top 24 made it in a league format. Pretty much taking the top 24 of 36. Not that impressive, but these two teams then were drawn against each other as there's no protections for each country, which is actually a big deal if you're playing futures in this market. Because if you're playing an English side, then you probably thought you might potentially not have to see another English one, but those rules are out the window because of their new format. With that said, Stade Brestois goal-and-a-half underdog is pretty large, though it does, I think, reflect the differences between these two sides. PSG, of course, play for Champions League. Stade Brestois before this season, we're playing just to keep one more year in the French Ligue 1. So very different scenario here, and we'll see kind of what that all looks like. But I would think, as you would expect, Stade Brestois, a much smaller budgeted club, they'll be doing everything they can to try to keep, well, they're to try to keep this as close as possible for the second leg, but they also need to win because they're at home for the first. Road goals don't count, but a draw here at PSG are going to be a monstrous favorite to move through. Currently, Stade Brestois, goal-and-a-half underdog, a little bit more juice on the home team. Totals 3.25, juice more to the under. As for the two advanced numbers, Stade Brestois, a $100 bet will win you 875, where on the other side, if you're backing PSG to advance, $1,800 will win you that $100 bet. Welcome to the big gap in the margins, handle, whatever it's called. And all the lines quoted courtesy of BetOnline Sportsbetting.ag. If you don't have an account at either of those sites, great spot to save some juice, especially compared to the legal books here in the United States. So go check that out. It's in the links in the podcast description with referral codes. But if you'd like to get something from me directly, I'm happy to help. So make sure you go throw that in and just slide in my DMs at the real underscore G Warner across all social media platforms, and I will get you on your way to get a free 50% from either of those casinos. So long as you've not made a first time deposit, that's the best way to take advantage of it. So for this matchup, I'm betting or are very interested in seeing Saint-Breuil keep this low scoring. They did not do that the last time they played, which I think does add some value here. Saint-Breuil coming off of a 3-0 loss at home to Kylian Mbappe, formerly of PSG and Real Madrid, in the match day 8 of the Champions League. But to be honest, it was a much closer game than that was. They still hung on for an under, which I think is valuable here. And the nice part about this matchup, and really for any under players like myself, is you're not likely to see Stade Brestois push forward and go all out if behind late to try to equalize for a draw, because ultimately, if they concede that late goal and fall two behind, that makes their trip to PSG to Paris Saint-Germain even much more difficult to then have to win and get through. So I think we see underdogs still more conservative, especially in these first legs than we will in any other stage of this competition besides other first legs, I guess. So that does, I think, play into the under 3.25 looking a little bit more interesting to me. Scary certainly to play any sort of under involving PSG because they have boatloads of talent and then more talent on top of that. And honestly, Dembele has been so good. The former Barcelona player who moved to PSG, Ousmane Dembele, has been great. He's terrifying, but Sabrassois, they're good, and they are coming off a good win against Nantes in Ligue 1, which I think makes them a little bit feeling more safe, and of course, bringing on that added confidence from winning. The big question is how much they can keep PSG quiet. So I think if you're looking to back Sabrassois, if you think you're going to score, then you probably want to look to the side. I just don't really see that happening necessarily. So I lean that way, but I think I'm more interested in under 3.25 for the early window, single standalone game in Champions League on Tuesday, February 11th. Move next to Manchester City. They are hosting Real Madrid in probably the standout tie of this round of 24. A lot of teams that got buys were the biggest names, but here are two giant ones. Manchester City, a half a goal favorite. All the juice on Real Madrid totals 3.25, and it's juiced slightly more to under. And then in terms of to advanced numbers, Manchester City currently plus 110 to Real Madrid's minus 135. I think a lot based on Real Madrid getting second leg at home. Manchester City, they limped in this competition. It barely survived, honestly, without an own goal from Bruges in their home stadium at the Etihad. I'm still not sure that Manchester City would have eventually won and forced their way through into this level of the competition. But maybe they're here and we could take advantage of that. Real Madrid certainly haven't looked great this season, coming off a big matchup at the top of La Liga at home to Atletico Madrid in a Madrid derby this weekend. Really tough position to then have to go on the road to England and play on Tuesday. Though it's the later window, it's still going to be a really tough environment. The big question is, can we trust Manchester City? They look like they got old really fast, have been dealing with injuries, and the importance of Rodri, who won the Ballon d'Or and was honestly the best player in the world, I thought. Well, a friend of mine and he asked, who do you think is the best player in the world? And we both answered at the same time. We said Rodri. Well, he's been irreplaceable. Manchester City doesn't seem to react very well. They're great when everything's going their direction, but when it's not, it's a problem. Real Madrid have struggled in this matchup, really, and really weren't that impressive. I think we're knocked out by Man City in Champions League knockout phase a couple seasons ago. So this is another opportunity for them. But adding Kylian Mbappe certainly doesn't hurt. The big question, though, is Real Madrid's defense and what the heck they're going to do because they are playing youth team players and going on the road to the Etihad is going to be really hard. I imagine we probably see, because I can't imagine David Alaba is anywhere near healthy to play here. Militao's out. It's probably Tchouaméni coming back from center defensive midfield to a center back position, which he doesn't like, but they have to have it. And honestly, hopefully Antonio Rudiger will be available here, but I'm guessing this number at a half a goal underdog probably suggests that he's not available. We'll see. And with that said, I'm still interested in Real Madrid. I think the half of a goal is appropriate based on most teams. I give a quarter of a goal for home field advantage. And I think we see a very juiced half because I don't know who's really backing Manchester City, especially with two of the bigger name clubs out there. And Real Madrid just need to draw away from home, which they will certainly seek. I think I do have some interest kind of similarly to the Stade Brestois reasoning that we see a low scoring game here. Real Madrid will certainly accept any sort of result, whether that's a win or a draw, because they know they have Bernabeu in the second leg. I think Manchester City will be the opposite, but they don't really control games as much as they used to, or they might have a lot of possession, but they are so open and so porous defensively that I think they have big concerns here. And I think Real Madrid is clearly the toughest that they could have drawn. And Real Madrid's success in this competition, it makes them a very scary first leg matchup at home. Really difficult for Manchester City, and Real Madrid probably should be favored to move through. Next, we'll go to Juventus hosting PSV Eindhoven. Currently, Juventus a half a goal favorite at home with the juice split both ways. Totals 2.5, juice more to the over. Juve just haven't been very impressive to me. Thiago Motta has come in and basically made a defensive team just about the same defensively. And honestly, I think PSV Eindhoven, they look like a scary team, especially away from home. Excuse me, especially at home. Away from home, they're certainly a lot less formidable of an opponent, but still think Juventus has trouble here. They don't score a lot of goals, so that I think immediately makes me look toward under 2.5, probably more so than the Eindhoven side. I don't really know that I trust the Eindhoven defense at that level, but I do think that Juve probably try to kill this game, even though they're second legs away from home. I don't see them pushing and going really guns blazing for a second goal or a third goal necessarily. I think they play conservatively, try to win at home, and then know that if they go to Holland and draw, then they get extra time. And I think that's still an acceptable result for them. So the big question is kind of what or how does Eindhoven attack this? I think we see a very conservative strategy from them, especially away from home, knowing a draw would put them in great position to advance. Um, Speaking of to advanced numbers, so Juventus are minus 160 favorites. I do like Eindhoven plus 130, especially that second leg potentially at home. Good chance that if Eindhoven have a good first result, you could certainly buy out of it by playing Juve as a plus money underdog away from home in the second leg if they have to win. But you could also see Eindhoven potentially just get a decent result here and be in good position to sell off anyway. So I do like Eindhoven as an underdog. What a surprise, but I like under 2.5 more in this matchup. We moved to last matchup on Tuesday, and that's Sporting Lisboa of Portugal. They are hosting Borussia Dortmund as I wear their I guess it's not technically a kit, but whatever I bought in the team store before I went to the Schalke 04 Ryan Derby. No, that's Cologne and Borussia Mönchengladbach, I think. Instead, it was the Rhone, maybe. Anyway, because the saying is Paris. Anyway, I can't remember, but Riviera Derby, Ruhr Derby, whatever. Anyway, Sporting a quarter goal favorite at home with more juice almost all the way to Dortmund away. Totals 2 3/4 juice more to the over. And this is an incredible matchup of two teams drawn against each other that have been horrible this season. Dortmund just fired their manager. Brought in a complete hack from the youth team who celebrated like he kicked the ball in the net for each goal they scored. LOL. And then brought in Niko Kovac, who came in and took a nice loss to Stuttgart, playing their captain and their star striker and losing to the old team. Hilarious at home, especially problematic because Dortmund have been so bad away. They've been better in this competition in Champions League, where they've honestly been better the last 2 seasons now. But they have had huge problems away, and that's not something you can kind of look past. The nice part for them is Sporting Lisboa have been awful since their manager Ruben Amorim left for Manchester United. He hasn't done very well there, but his replacement was already sacked, and they are really trying to figure out what the heck to do. They've been getting back into matches to draw, but as favorites in Champions League, that doesn't work. I'm very interested in Dortmund, a quarter goal underdog, and I don't think I have much of a lean toward the total. I think as you've heard on these other matches, we see probably a conservative strategy for everyone involved in this first leg. But I think Dortmund specifically, I mean, they need some positive things to happen, but so does Sporting Lisboa. And honestly, I don't think you can trust either to win this match. I think I like either underdog, no matter where this match is being played. And it happens to be Dortmund in this matchup. So that's, I think, my biggest interest in that Tuesday matchup between Sporting Lisboa and Dortmund. In terms of two advanced numbers, Dortmund minus 140, Sporting Lisboa plus 115. That reflects, I think, home field advantage in the second match. So the only team that has home field in the second leg that is an underdog is currently PSV Eindhoven at plus 130 to Juventus. And I think that's interesting. But as for the Tuesday episode, or excuse me, the Tuesday portion of this episode, for my best bet on Tuesday Champions League, I'm going to go Real Madrid, a half of a goal underdog on the road at Manchester City. And now we do Wednesday card similarly, and then come up with the best bet for Wednesday, smash together with Real Madrid on half a goal underdog on Tuesday. And then that'll go out to the web as my best bet or ultimate best bet on Instagram at the real_G Warner and the same on YouTube. So we'll move to Wednesday. We'll start with Club Bruges hosting Atalanta. Currently, Bruges a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice on Atalanta. Total is 2.5 and juice more to the under. I haven't been very impressed with Atalanta lately. They've been awesome, and our team I want to back as an underdog against a better team, as they did get a big draw away from home against Barcelona, but ultimately was not enough to get them to the automatic bye into the round of 16, I think what it would be. Bruges, on the other hand, were in great position, but ended up getting through to this level of competition. So no sweat for them losing on the road at Manchester City. Like I said, they defended like valiant effort defensively, probably a better way to put it, and honestly, even with a own goal from a center back and a ball that was crossed. And honestly, Ordonez reacted pretty well to it, but ultimately that was a big, big goal for Manchester City to eventually get a win because they needed to pull ahead and they had fallen behind. Bruges are a very small underdog here, only a quarter goal. Big, much I expected bigger for Atalanta, and we'll see where this number moves. It's certainly pointing toward Atalanta climbing right now. But I think my biggest interest in this matchup currently, besides the home underdog, of course, is to look towards the under 2.5. I think at this point, we just can't really trust Atalanta to score a lot of goals. So that's my biggest interest from the early match on Wednesday, the 12th of February. Now, as for the two advanced number, Club Bruges plus 255. So 100 will win you 255. Atalanta the other way, $330 required to win 100 for Atalanta to advance. We'll move now to the later window. I just want to make sure that I don't have any comments coming through. If you want to throw something in here, I will happily respond. Though it is late night with real_G Warner, it's probably time for me to try to upload this and go to bed. But I still got the entire afternoon slate, so stick with me, and we'll get to the ultimate best of portion soon. Monaco currently quarter goal favorites at home to Benfica, with almost all the juice on Benfica. Totals 2.75, juice all the way to over. So Monaco, I thought have been pretty disrespecting this competition. I've won a lot of bets on them at home as underdog. We don't see that here. Maybe Benfica money continues to hit. Monaco at Pick'em does seem a lot more interesting to me because you get the money back if there's a draw, and Benfica I think would be accepting of a draw in the first leg, so they just have to win at home to advance. Now, total here is 2.75. I think it reflects two offenses that can score a bunch of goals, though. I would expect this to be a more conservative matchup. Benfica have been scoring a lot. That's not really who they are, though they're probably one of the higher scoring teams in Portugal. Monaco are an all-out goal-scoring team in Ligue 1, but that hasn't really worked so well this season, and they do have a counter-attacking manager at heart in Adi Hütter, formerly of Borussia Mönchengladbach and Eintracht Frankfurt in Germany. So I do feel pretty good about knowing where Monaco will be from a coaching perspective. I'll wait to see them move to a pick'em. I don't think I want Benfica at a quarter goal underdog, so I think under 2.75 is my biggest interest at this point in Monaco hosting Benfica. In terms of the two advanced number for that one, Monaco plus 110 to move through, Benfica minus 135. If you are looking to potentially benefit from a first leg underdog there at home, I think if you play Monaco, you need them to get a result. If they win, then you're probably in good position to have Benfica as a slight underdog, and you could potentially bet the other way and hedge out and take your profit. A draw probably puts you in danger, and certainly a Benfica win will make them a much bigger favorite in the second leg. So those are all things you need to consider. Move next to Celtic hosting Bayern München, and probably the most lopsided of matchups. But I'm a little bit surprised that Celtic are only goal and a half underdog at home. All the juice on the home underdog total is 3.25, juice all the way to over. Bayern München, they certainly score less goals in Champions League. Hard to do because, or hard to outdo the Bundesliga because they score a million there. With that said, Celtic were very good at preventing goals throughout Champions League. It's very different against Bayern Munchen, but I do like the idea of them at home playing a very Brendan Rodgers-esque, especially coming off a high-scoring match on the road at Aston Villa. I think we see Celtic try to hang in this tie. I think they losing by a single goal would probably be an okay result for them, though it would make them a huge underdog to go through in Munich. Still, I think Celtic are going to try to play that conservative game. It's very scary to fade Bayern München, but they do travel to Leverkusen this weekend in the German Bundesliga, and that does make a big difference because if Bayern München can win that matchup, they probably have clinched the Meisterschale after a year of having it across country on the western side in Leverkusen. So I'm interested in Celtic potentially taking advantage of that, though certainly Bayern München are very used to play 2 matches in a week. And will definitely be putting everything they can in this matchup. I'll also be waiting to see if it climbs to 3.5, because I do lean under, though that's a certainly scary thing to think about with Bayern München. In terms of two advanced numbers, Celtic $100 will win you 750. If you want Bayern, it's $1,400 to win 100, and that is uh, almost as big as PSG, who are also second leg at home. Last but not least, before we get to the ultimate best bet portion of the show, we have Feyenoord, a quarter goal underdog at home to Milan. Total is 2 and 3/4 juice all the way to over, with all the juice on Milan as well. So we might see Feyenoord climb to a half a goal underdog at home or so. And I certainly would be interested in seeing this total move to 3. Feyenoord plus 190 to advance, Milan minus 240. So I think this is a little bit closer than people would expect, but Feyenoord great at home. Eredivisie has an incredible crowd support base in all of the Tallinn matches. So that's definitely the side I want here. I like that quarter of a goal. I'll lean to under 3 if it gets there. I guess I lean to under 2 and 3/4 at the moment as well, just because I think we see a very conservative round of football matches, and that plays very well into my dogs and under strategy. Sorry, Joe Dollar. Also, sorry, Joe Dollar, not getting a NFL props contest or podcast out for the Super Bowl. Things just didn't align and didn't really get the 5-star reviews I was looking for on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Thank you for those that have already, and I appreciate that. But certainly something we'll be looking for more of in the future if we're going to do extra episodes for everyone, more than what we committed to when we start each season. With that said, I think we've cleared all of the matches discussed in this relatively brief knockout round for Champions League. I didn't give a best bet for Wednesday, and I think I'm going to do Feyenoord a quarter goal underdog, as I think that's the biggest interest for me. We'll see how that does in the ultimate best bet coming end of show. But Big East Ben and I recorded a college basketball episode, the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast, presented this year by pregame.com's podcast network. That is out every Monday night. This week we just covered the Tuesday card because there's a lot of great games. We're planning midweek to do Monday records for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then weekends as on Fridays we have all season. So check out that, especially with the NFL season wrapping up and no more football besides the soccer version. Certainly check out College Basketball Plays. And if you're looking for a place to get all my picks in the same position or same place, best place to do that is either on pregame.com or specifically on my Patreon, patreon.com/a_real_G Warner. That's where all my plays go up every night. That's where my leans are. And if you download the application and hit the subscribe button, you can get notifications for each time I upload a play or upload a write-up, all those sort of things, if that's what you're into. Great way to follow along with the real_G Warner across all social media platforms if that's what you're into. So I think it's time for the ultimate best bet, and we will be doing episodes for the Europa League and potentially the Europa Conference League, though that's got like one of the top 5 European soccer tier leagues teams in it in the knockouts, and I think that's Real Betis from Spain. But that'll come later in the week. So thanks for the support, and look forward to those because somehow those always do a ton, maybe because of Champions League success in the past, but we're going to try to keep that going as well. So it is time for the ultimate best bet, and it's time to get into it and see if we can kind of make this happen and keep this streak alive. Can't say I expected to be 75% so far this season, but we're going to try to keep that going as long as possible. Keep the rabbit's foot nearby and see what we can do as the ultimate best bet time is coming. Let me find my phone because that is what I record these things on. Where the heck did that thing go? I hope I didn't put it somewhere because the beauties of live things like that. Okay, it's over here. Yeah, I think the the late night fatigue has hit. And it's time to get this out here because I have to upload this and get this all out across the channels. So make sure everyone gets it and they have some time to listen on their way to work or something like that before all of everything kicks off. So it's time to get into it and let's record. Hey, this is real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet portion of the Champions League episode, the round of 24, the knockouts just beginning. 30 and 10 so far this season, 75% on ultimate best bets, 11 and 4 last 15 Champions League picks. So you certainly want to stick around for this and, of course, hit subscribe wherever you're watching. Leave a 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. But from Tuesday, I like Real Madrid a half a goal underdog, and on Wednesday, I like Feyenoord a quarter goal underdog. But for the ultimate best bet in this episode, I'm going to go with Real Madrid, just dominant in this competition. Have done so well in Champions League. Yes, there's a lot of fear in that Real Madrid back line, but ultimately Manchester City have so many problems themselves, even with starters that they want to have back there. They're still wide open for Real Madrid to attack. I'll take Real Madrid a half a goal underdog for the ultimate best bet on this Champions League episode of the Betting the Pitch podcast. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in, especially late night. I don't see any questions or comments that I can display. So that'll do it for this episode. And hopefully those 26 minutes will get you through a couple days and maybe win you some money.